Shocking. 7 ZANU-PF cabinet ministers caught plotting to form new party before 2028. The split nobody saw coming. What's up, Zimbabwe, Africa, and all my politically alert hustlers watching from the streets of Mbare to the boardrooms in Joburg. I'm Takunda Mabika, your political street pastor, and this is Southern Africa Breaking News, where the cracks behind the curtains get exposed before the headlines even know what's happening. Like this video if you believe power without loyalty is just noise. Subscribe.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're heading into potentially quite significant territory in Zimbabwean politics.
Yeah, it's all based on this pretty eye-opening YouTube video that's been circulating.
Exactly, from Southern Africa Breaking News. And it raises some serious questions, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The title itself is, well, quite dramatic. Shocking. 7 ZANU cabinet ministers caught plotting to form new party before 2028. Things moving fast.
Wow. Okay. So our mission here, as always, is to really unpack what this video is claiming for you. We want to dig into these alleged secret meetings.
Who might be involved, why they'd supposedly do this.
Right, their strategy, how this whole thing supposedly got discovered, which honestly sounds a bit like a spy movie plot point.
Doesn't it? And then, of course, the potential reaction from President Mnangagwa and what all this could mean for, the 2028 elections and maybe even further down the line.
Okay, let's jump right in. The core of this story, according to the video, is these secret meetings.
Yes, 7 current ZANU-PF cabinet ministers reportedly caught gathering in secret. But it's how they were doing it that's interesting.
It wasn't just casual chats, was it? The video claims they were disguised.
Disguised as policy think tanks, which sounds plausible on the surface, right? But apparently the conversation wasn't really about national projects.
No, it apparently veered into post-succession scenarios, thinking about what comes after the current leadership.
And there was one specific question that supposedly came up that really set off alarm bells.
What was that?
What will ZANU-PF be when the generals take full control? According to the video, that specific question got the attention of the Presidential Guard and the CIO.
Oof, yeah, that would do it. It suggests they're really worried about a future, maybe one without Mnangagwa at the helm.
Precisely. And then there's the name they supposedly floated for this potential new party.
Ah, yes. The Zimba reform movement.
Right. Described in the video as a clean skin formation, like a fresh start with a new manifesto.
But drawing on existing frustrations within ZANU-PF, apparently, like feelings of betrayal.
Exactly. And this fascinating comparison they made, Chwena but younger.
Chwena but younger. So tapping into maybe a similar kind of energy or base as a previous figure, but aiming for a more useful, perhaps modern image.
That's how it sounds. Trying to refresh the appeal while maybe holding on to some traditional ZANU-PF elements, or at least the disaffected ones.
Interesting. Okay, so the video doesn't actually name these 7 ministers.
No names. But it gives clues, quite specific ones, actually.
Right, like 2 from the economic cluster, so trade, finance, investment, that kind of area.
Yes. And then one supposedly linked to youth affairs, apparently frustrated that the party isn't, connecting with young people.
Which is a common theme, isn't it?
It is. Then there's an ICT minister mentioned, offered to build their digital platforms, allegedly.
So leveraging tech from the inside.
Seems like it. And maybe the most surprising part, 3 are described as longtime ZANU-PF insiders, people who appear loyal publicly.
But behind closed doors, it's a different story.
Apparently so. One was even quoted, supposedly, saying something like, "Let's do it quietly, no declarations, just build it under until it's too late to stop."
Wow. That sounds very calculated.
Yeah.
So what's driving this? Why would established ministers take such a huge risk?
Well, the video suggests several motivations. One big one seems to be a fear of being left out in the cold. Politically homeless, as the video puts it.
Meaning, if Mnangagwa's replaced before 2028, maybe unexpectedly, they worry about their own positions.
Exactly. Political transitions can be brutal. Loyalties shift, people get sidelined. It's a real fear.
Makes sense. What else?
There's also mention of a lack of confidence in Sango Chabangu's ability to attract young voters. That seems to be a recurring concern.
So they feel the party needs a different approach for the youth vote.
Perhaps. And maybe a deeper disillusionment, too. The video talks about a belief that the ZANU-PF brand itself is now too toxic.
Toxic in what way?
Too toxic to attract, say, the diaspora or tech-savvy Zimbabweans. People looking for something, well, cleaner.
And this connects to Vision 2030, doesn't it?
It does. The video claims there's a total loss of faith in Vision 2030 among this group. One minister allegedly said, "We're tired of selling a dream we don't believe in."
That's pretty damning, coming from inside the cabinet, if true.
Absolutely. And then you add in the other dynamics, worries about China's influence, the recent military reshuffles, maybe Jaya's rising popularity. It all paints a picture of insecurity.
So it's a mix of personal ambition, strategic calculation about the party's future, and maybe genuine disillusionment.
That seems to be the picture the video paints, yes.
Okay, so if they were really planning this, what was the strategy? How are they going to, pull it off?
It sounds like a long game, according to the video. The plan wasn't immediate. Step 1, stay in cabinet until 2026.
Keep their positions, their influence, access.
Right. While at the same time quietly building things in the background, like a youth tech platform and underground structures.
Laying the groundwork without making noise.
Exactly. And then there's this idea of rolling out community projects.
Ah, the neutrally branded ones.
Yeah.
Housing, clean water, farming inputs.
Yeah, things that help people directly build goodwill, but without the ZANU-PF logo, at least initially. This was described as the soft phase.
Smart. Build a base before you announce yourself. Who are they targeting?
The video suggests a mix. Disgruntled ZANU-PF members, maybe some CCC rebels looking for a new home, and those crucial urban undecided voters.
Broad coalition, potentially. And the big launch.
Planned for after ZANU-PF's next elective Congress. Wait for that internal event to play out, then make their move. It sounds very methodical.
Almost like a business launch plan. But it didn't stay secret, did it? How did they supposedly get found out? This is the spy movie part.
It really is. The video claims it was down to a pretty basic error. A junior staffer.
What did they do?
They were managing WhatsApp groups for community projects, apparently, and they accidentally added a state security officer to one of the groups.
Oh no, mistook them for a youth leader or something.
That's the story. You can imagine the agent's surprise seeing the messages pop up.
I bet. What did they see? Anything specific?
Discussions about Zim reform logo concepts. And, crucially, instructions like, do not use ZANU-PF logos during the soft phase.
Whoops.
Yeah.
That's not subtle. That's a massive red flag for security services.
A huge one. It immediately signaled this wasn't just some internal party initiative. It was something separate, intentionally hiding its ZANU-PF links, or lack thereof.
And then things escalated.
Very quickly, according to the video, phones allegedly cloned, drivers' movements tracked, laptops mysteriously disappearing, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like intense surveillance.
And 2 ministers were apparently summoned by the CIO for a routine political alignment consultation.
Routine, yeah, right. Sounds pretty serious.
It does. The video stops short of, using words like treason, but it clearly implies a major breach of trust, a potential threat.
Which leads to the big question. President Mnangagwa's reaction. How did he supposedly respond to finding this out?
The video suggests a surprisingly measured approach initially, not immediate firings.
Really? Why hold back if you've uncovered something like this?
The thinking, according to the narrator, is that firing all 7 at once would be a huge public admission of deep division within the party. It could cause panic, instability.
So, contain the information, maybe. Avoid confirming the split publicly.
That seems to be the speculative strategy. Keep them close, monitor their activities, see who else might be involved, maybe even try to co-opt them or neutralize the threat quietly.
Potentially using someone like Sango Shabangu as an intermediary.
That's mentioned as a possibility in the video, but it's a risky game, isn't it? Letting them stay potentially allows the plot to continue growing.
It's a real balancing act. And Are there any signs that these ministers are actually, acting differently now?
Well, the video points to subtle things, like maybe they're not mentioning Vision 2030 as much in public speeches anymore.
Distancing themselves from the official narrative.
Possibly. And it even notes that Wicknell, who's usually very vocal supporting the president, hasn't apparently mentioned Vision 2030 much recently either. Coincidence? Or a sign of shifting tides? It's hard to say for sure.
Those little signals can be telling, though. Okay, let's step back and think about the bigger picture. The implications. If this is real, what could it mean for 2028 and beyond?
The video frames it as potentially massive. A historic crossroads for ZANU-PF, It says this isn't like previous factional fights.
How so? What's different?
It's the combination. Cabinet-level betrayal mixed with youth strategy and tech game. It's presented as more strategic, more modern, maybe more dangerous to the establishment.
And if this Zimba reform movement actually launches?
It could seriously shake things up. The video suggests it might attract ZANU-PF youth looking for change, maybe disillusioned CCC supporters, even investors hoping for a fresh start.
So a real potential to split the vote in 2028.
That seems to be the major implication highlighted. It could fundamentally alter the political maths in Zimbabwe.
And the video hinted these 7 weren't entirely alone, that there might be a wider network.
Yeah, that was another intriguing layer. Talk of approaching a top ZANU-PF official for strategy advice.
Seriously? Who? They didn't say, I assume.
No names. Again, chance. Also, 2 retired ambassadors supposedly offering help with foreign funding connections.
Okay, so trying to build international links too.
And maybe even crossover appeal. A quiet former CCC MP, possibly involved in an advisory role.
Bridging the divides.
And perhaps most audaciously, allegedly asking a senior military officer to review a draft manifesto, just for security implications, you understand.
Wow, that suggests they're really trying to cover all bases, anticipate reactions.
It paints a picture of serious network building. The video uses the analogy of the Econet of parties, like building the infrastructure quietly, piece by piece.
That's quite an image. Building a political network like a tech company builds its infrastructure.
And there's that quote attributed to one of the ministers. The people are ready, they just don't know where to go. It really captures their belief that there's an opening, a vacuum they can fill.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. This YouTube video from Southern Africa Breaking News lays out this, well, quite explosive narrative.
7 sitting ZANU-PF cabinet ministers allegedly plotting to form a new party, the Zimba Reform Movement, aiming for a pre-2028 launch.
We've talked about the alleged secret meetings disguised as think tanks, the possible identities hinted at, their motivations, fear, disillusionment, ambition.
Their supposed strategy, the long game, building quietly, the soft launch with community projects, targeting specific voter groups.
And the almost comical, if it weren't so serious, way they were supposedly discovered via that WhatsApp blunder.
Right. Followed by the alleged surveillance and the president's speculated cautious reaction, trying to manage the situation without causing panic.
And finally, the potentially huge implications. A major split in ZANU-PF, a reshaping of the 2028 election landscape, driven by this mix of insider knowledge, youth focus, and tech strategy, plus hints of a wider network.
It's a compelling story, no doubt, and this is really crucial for you listening, we have to stress this comes from one source, that YouTube video.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. It includes details that sound specific, but it is, at this stage, an unverified account. Critical evaluation is key here.
Treat it as a potentially significant piece of information, but one that needs more corroboration before taking it as, confirmed fact.
Definitely. Which really leads us to our final thought for you today. If you consider these claims, this alleged plot, the frustrations it supposedly taps into, the idea of a new force emerging, what does this suggest about Zimbabwe's political future?
What kind of scenarios seem plausible heading towards 2028 and beyond? Could something like this actually succeed?
And maybe think about what kind of leadership, what kind of vision might actually resonate most effectively with the Zimbabwean people right now, given everything we've discussed.
Definitely a lot to mull over.
It certainly is.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.